Once upon a time, there were 3 little girls who went to Congress.
Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice, for being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that?
Welcome to another episode of You Left Shit Out. I'm your host, Compton J or James. There is another James on the network though, but for the sake of this stream, I guess we can do that. Let me just kind of wind this back a little bit. I love this clip. And I think it's Turncoat Production. Let me make sure I get the right name to give the right. Oops. Oh, I see why. I had a little pop up. Sorry, everybody. You didn't see it, but good. All right, so let's oops, let me make sure I'm unmuted. I am. All right, so let's just scroll back. I love the credits of this. Right here. Let's see. Nancy's Angels. Oh, it's after the speech. Sorry. Right here. Associate producer Barack Obama. Story editor Neera Tanden. This is incredible. Hillary Clinton, the director, guest starring Ayanna Pressley. I wanted to make sure you can see what is her character as fake squad member number 4, disqualified for supporting the snake. Co-starring Corey Bush, a fake squad member number 5, as fake squad member number 5. Number 6 is Jamal Bowman. Number 7, or actually it says Rokana as wannabe squad member number 7, because he's like there but not there. Co-starring Pramila Jayapal, subject or squad reject number 8. Mark Pocan, squad reject number 9, and Keith Ellison, squad reject number 10. Just love the the credits of this video. So welcome again. This is You Left Shit Out, as I said, and because we have Jimmy Dore tomorrow, and if those that don't know, we do have Jimmy Dore live tomorrow, Saturday, December 3rd, which happens to be my anniversary with my wife. So I have that, and then I'm gonna be gone the rest of the day. So yeah, we got Jimmy Dore tomorrow, but I wanted to kind of cover some content just so we can refresh and get our juices going for the appearance tomorrow, or for our interview and our the discussion with Nick. And I think I will be able to, like I said, it's my anniversary, but I think I'm able to stretch an hour or so out of tomorrow. So we'll see. But this should be a good one. There's so much going on, and it feels like there's so much that has gone on, has proven either RBN and or Jimmy Dore correct on these people. And when I say these people, I mean it with all disrespect. So I'll let that play in the background because I love it, and I love the item, but I'll take this off too. But anyway, so we're gonna go to your comments and your thoughts. I'm sure it's pretty funny. And then we'll do a chat check to make sure everything looks good there. So, but first, make sure you join our Substack. We stream pretty much every day. Sometimes there's not a stream on Saturday. Sometimes, if me or Nick doesn't stream on Saturday, but pretty much every day there's something streaming or some clips being uploaded. So if you want notifications of when all of that is happening, join our Substack. We send out notifications for both, for clips and live streams. Live streams are generally 45 minutes to an hour, maybe 30 minutes. And clips are like 15 minutes to 30 minutes prior to being released. Let's like the stream. Let me see where we're at. We're at 213 people watching already. Welcome. If you are subscribed, make sure you double check. I think I might add that to the opening because people are being unsubscribed. So let's just make it a habit to double check that you are subscribed, and I'll just remind everybody. We're at 100 likes, 225 people. Can we push to 100 more? So 100 more people if you can like the stream. There goes those credits again. 100 more people if you can like the stream, and that will help with getting more people here and more comments. I already see we're approaching 200 comments, so let's go to there as we're liking, as we're pushing to 200. So let's throw your likes. Oh, it's perfect. Now I have the blank screen. I can throw your likes up and see what everybody thinks of the video, see what everybody thinks of the topic. Oh, let me do that. Let me go over let me do that before I go to the comments, actually. So let's make sure we know what we are discussing today. So the graphic, let's throw up the green one. A long history of failures, and told by Jimmy Dore. So I have a string of a few Jimmy Dore videos, specifically the videos about the squad or a member of the squad or Bernie Sanders, because that's his tree, to just kind of analyze all the failures. Like what are we waiting? Why are we still cheering for this group that has not done a single legislative sort of thing in Congress? So, but they keep having these supposed failures. So that is I would say, the main topic. But also, connected, because the reason we're even talking about them is because, one, Jimmy Dore, but two, because of their vote. So we're going to talk about Bernie Sanders and how he played a crucial role in passing anti-strike law against railroaders. And that's an article from World Star, or World, I was going to say World Star about, but World Socialist website. And we're also going to cover some articles from Socialist Alternative. Kshama Sawant destroyed the squad in a few tweets. We'll cover that. And then there's one last story where we're going to talk about the Democratic ran cities seek to add killer robots. So killer robot cops. So that's another story we're going to get to. We're going to squeeze all of that in today's stream. So now let's go to comments and see what everybody's saying here. Yeah. Yes, he did. So I saw that first comment. So always good to see Jimmy and Nick have debates all in good faith. I don't think they're going to be debating. Well, it was originally Nick, and I think I'm going to be, not I think, I'm going to be at it. So it's Nick and CJ. It's not a debate, but I want to talk to Jimmy about what he thinks of what's happening to the people that he was in community with, like, the Janks. Like, what does he think of their metamorphosis? And I think that's what's happened. I think he stayed where he was at, and they moved right in order to collect the cash. So anyone else get triggered seeing the Fraud Squad? Does anyone else raise your hands? No, Jimmy Dore is on tomorrow, so always a good conversation when RBN has Jimmy Dore on. Even when they disagree on an issue, they have open discourse on subjects to allow the other point of view. Absolutely. Yeah. So you obviously saw some of the other discussions we've had with Jimmy on here, and things that we disagree is fine. I don't know why everyone always say that. Let's keep going. But don't get those. Oh, here goes a super sticker. Thank you, Zach, for that super sticker. Good thing I came all the way up here. Let's continue. The obvious one to me is LGBTQ issues. RBN baby. That's how I read that. I hope that's how you meant it. Baby. RBN on Russell Brand next. We'll see. He may see us on Glenn Greenwald, the show that he's launching. He shot a show with Nick already, or intro or introduction or something. But he said he's gonna have some of us on there. So there we go. Hey, Captain Obvious, are you dropping in to answer my question with only your namesake? Now, that is some powerful stupidity. All right, so that's a couple of comments. Now let's get into the story. And I think I want to cover Kshama Sawant because it's a short story. And I want to get warmed up. As we're pushing the likes to 200, I want to get more people in for the Jimmy Dore story because that content is really good. Like, it's really just, I'm just trying to make the case that we like this idea of going back to this well. Let's just throw some cement and close up the well. Let's put some cement in well and just close this up. So let's go. Sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. I was supposed to go here. Let's go to Kshama Sawant will be our first story. But in order to set that story, we're going to read the press release from the Railroad Workers United. Okay, so we're going to read their press release because it sets actually the scene for this discussion and other discussions we're going to be having in this stream. So this is good to have. Let's get to it here. Oh, I didn't even know I already had it up, but since I'm already here, let's do it this way. Copy. All right, so here is the press release. And let's see if I can blow it up for those seeing impaired like myself. So, press release from Railroad Workers United, December 2nd, and that is today. Immediate release, and then it just names all the different copiers, and these are all the different. It looks like union locations, maybe. Democrats, then Republicans, smite rail labor. And that's the title of their release. And it's quite a thing to see these workers come out and explicitly call out both parties, not saying, oh, this is one or the other. So rail union calls out, really, it calls out the duopoly. So that's the title of the segment when we cut it. So rail union calls out duopoly in this press release. Let's close that one instead of having multiple ones open. All right, so let's continue, or let's begin, I should say. I think that's big enough for most people to see. And let me make sure the sound is good. Yeah. All right. So while rail workers unions finds it despicable, but not surprising that both political parties opted to side with big business over working people yesterday and vote against the interests of railroad workers, not once, but twice within hours. We suffered a 1-2 punch at the hands of first the Democratic Party, the second served up by the Republicans. And just spot on. And this is the reason why. Now, well, not what I'm highlighting because it's important what they say, but this is the reason why those that are still voting in this duopoly, we have to educate. That's it. We can't lead the horse to water, give the information, but they clearly can see this is directly from the workers. This isn't the dumb online left. This isn't the garage talking weed head Jimmy Dore. This is directly from the workers calling out both parties. So both of you that are playing this red-blue culture war game, claiming that the other party is worse than the other, not for the railroad worker, not for the railroad workers. I always have a hard time saying that word. So I'll just say rail workers. So not for the rail workers. So, and let's continue with their press release. Oops, pop up. I know you don't see it, but let me close it here. Another one. There we go. All right, now I think I got them closed. All right, so first, responding to the wishes of President Biden and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the House voted to legislate a contract that the majority of U.S. freight rail workers had previously voted to reject. That is key to understand. This wasn't a, hey, we added in some things that made this better. Like if they actually wanted to add in the 7-day paid sick leave, they would have put it in the first bill. They put in the second one so that they couldn't include it. So that made, essentially, it's the deal they rejected. So that's what the Democratic Party is doing, which opens the lane for Republicans to sneak in and go, we're working class people. We're a working class party now. So it's no one's fault but their own. Let's continue. The Senate would quickly follow suit. In effect, their actions simply overrode our voices and desires. Let me say that again. In effect, their actions simply overrode our voices and desires. I'll read it this way. Simply overrode the workers' voices and desires. Rail workers, like all workers, should have the right to bargain collectively and to freely engage in strike activity if and when the members see fit and when they democratically elect to do so. That is democracy to me. Democracy in the workplace, I mean, a democracy without democracy in the workplace, is that really a democracy? And my answer to that question would be no. Let's continue. Within hours of the Senate vote sealing our fate on Thursday afternoon, we would suffer a second defeat, this time at the hands of another party of big business, the Republican Party. That bill, which would have mandated that all rail workers receive 7 days of paid leave. Now they're talking about the bill that everybody knew was going to be torpedoed because they didn't have 60 votes in the Senate. Now they're talking about that part. So the second bill that only talked about the amendment of 7 days paid leave, it passed the House, went over to the Senate. They're referring to that. That bill, which have mandated that all rail workers receive 7 days of paid leave, would receive. Shit, this pop up. Oh, again. Would receive just a handful of votes from Republicans in the House and crucially in the Senate, where it went down to defeat. Quote, this 1-2 punch from the two political parties is despicable, according to RWU General Secretary Jason Doreen. Quote, politicians are happy to voice platitudes and heap praise upon us for our heroism throughout the pandemic, the essential nature of our work, the difficult and dangerous and demanding conditions of our job. Yet when the steel hits the rail, love the analogy, they back the powerful and wealthy class 1 rail carriers every time, end quote. Both parties are not for the working class, but both want to project working class. Look, I was with the union, even the AOC the day before, and I can't bring up that tweet. It's going to lead me somewhere else. So the day before the actual vote, when nobody had any idea she was going to vote against the rail workers. Oh, I've been standing with the rail workers for a long time, and she posted a video of something she did in the past, which should have signaled to all of us she was going to vote against it or vote against the workers. Voting for it is voting against the workers. So we should all knew that. Bringing up old shit to cover up the new shit. Rokana is a master at this. And let's continue with the press release. We're almost to the end here. So yeah, let's continue. Rail Workers United, or Railroad Workers United, understands that this fight for justice will continue in the coming months and years. Quote, the rail carriers are too powerful and are a Scrooge to the nation's economy, end quote, according to RWU Steering Committee member Paul Lindsay. Quote, they need to be taken into public ownership and run in the interest of workers, shippers, passengers, and the nation, and not a handful of wealthy stockholders. That sounds like a Marxist there. Even when you're not a Marxist, you sound like a Marxist when you're analyzing the economy from the position of the worker. There's no way not to sound like a Marxist. Let me read this quote again. They need to be taken into public ownership and run in the interest of workers, shippers, passengers, and the nation, not a handful of wealthy stockholders, end quote. This rail situation is so giving a glimpse to every single American, every single person who's tuning into this story, that the workers have all the power and we're simply not wielding it. We are simply not wielding the power. Congress implemented this law for these workers specifically because they're essential. There's no need. They didn't implement this for Chipotle workers. Doesn't this mean isn't this effectively mean they don't have a union? If the union is saying they're voting for strike, and Congress is saying no, how do they have a union? How effective can their union be with this legislation? This is democracy to us. Let's read some more or finish up. I think this is the last paragraph here. RWU believes that railroad workers need to explore options other than the existing two political parties. Please, this is general strike. Hold on. I feel tears coming to my eyes here. Hold on. Oh Lord. Do you know if we can get this particular group, which is speaking in sort of Marxist sort of essence? Listen, Rome, if you're here, I'll hit you up. If you're not watching, we need to see if somebody can get in contact with them. We can have a general strike, makeshift general strike summit just with them. If we could get the railroad workers, get like 10 of them, and just have a general strike summit where we're talking to actual people, the rank and file that could actually stop this fucking, put a halt to this fucking economy. Somebody page 911 Rome. Tell Rome to get on this shit because he's the one that somehow he be getting in contact with these union people. So Rome, we need you to squarely target. Listen to their press release here. And we'll talk to Jimmy Dore more about this tomorrow because he may have a way. We need to get in contact with these people and get them in contact with the union workers from Kellogg, who also was down for a union strike during our general strike summit in our first annual general strike, and also the nurse union who was striking in, was it Massachusetts? Yeah, they were striking in Massachusetts, and we mentioned general strike, and they said he almost had an orgasm when we mentioned that. He was like, "Yes, I'm down for that shit." So we need to broker a discussion. We need to really attempt to broker a discussion if it's not already happening. They probably already thought of this themselves. But if it's not happening, that's something I'll talk to Rome about. Let's finish this, and then we can move on to the other stories here. Where am I? It doesn't matter where I can start over, I guess. I can reread a part. So, because I started getting the chills when I began to read this. So let me read it again. Railroad Workers United believes that railroad workers need to explore options other than the existing two political parties since neither appears to have our backs. RWU also believes that railroad workers need to consider doing away with the archaic and divided craft union system that hampers our unity and solidarity, and initiate the process of building a single and powerful railroad worker union that can win in future rounds of contract bargaining. According to RWU organizer Ryan Kaminsko, quote, "We have been played for well over a century by politicians and union officials alike. The fiasco of recent months will show that perhaps the time has come for railroad workers to push for a unified and powerful labor organization of all crafts together with a political party." Oh my God, this sounds like a workers' party that will better serve the interests of not just railroad workers, but all working class people. This is sounding so beautiful here. So let's. I know maybe I'm overdoing it. Maybe I don't know if you are feeling it. The reason I'm feeling like this shit is amazing because this is one of the this is the union they had to write legislation for saying this. The unions, they had to cover legislation to stop them from striking. They're saying fuck these two parties. Meanwhile, the Humanist Report, TYT, Sam Cedar is saying vote some Democrats in. Who's for the worker? The worker is saying both parties. Isn't that what the workers are saying here? If this is not a call to action, I hope this is being, if I'm a union member in any other union, when I'm hearing this, I'm like, somebody needs to get on the motherfucking phone and call these people right now. Because I'm hearing general strike. Is anybody else not hearing this? Am I tripping here? I'm going to go to your comments in a second. Because what I'm reading, the Marxist analysis that was earlier in this release, and then this last quote here, where they're saying, "Fuck these two parties. Both of them are fucking us over. It's time for us to break the chains, the barriers of these smaller unions. Make one unified union." This is exactly Marxism. This is exactly it. Is it not? Trade unions coming together, forming their own. Is that not the process? This is amazing to me. So let me go to your comments. Y'all gonna check the temperature in the room because maybe I'm off because I'm reading this as an aspiring Marxist. I'm gonna call myself that because I feel like I want to do more reading on it just so I can feel more secure with my own understanding. So I'm an aspiring Marxist. This sounds like this could be somebody writing about Marx's theory. And this is coming directly from, this is why this is important. This is coming directly from the union partners, and I'm calling them that because it's several unions. The union partners that form the Rail Workers United, they're saying fuck both of these motherfuckers and form one union. And did you hear that second part? And also a political party that not only represent rail workers, but all workers. Couple that with them saying, we need to take the ownership. Isn't this what we're talking about? So let me go to the comments. And I'll start newest and go to older. Marxism is nothing but the theatrical expression of working class movements to the resistance of a bad abolition of capitalism. Thank you, Zayden. In the military, I was trained to simply sledgehammer a rail line a night. Civil disobedience on a mass scale. That's huge. I'm thinking the same. This statement and the wording of the statement to me is huge. And if I was a capitalist reading this, I'll be like, what the fuck is this? What kind of shit is going on here? We need to pass some more military funding. We need to pass some more police funding. It looks like the Marxists have finally reached the people. It's time to mobilize. That's what they're saying. Because let me continue. This RWU Ron K, because I don't want to keep pronouncing his name wrong. Get him on the phone. Like I said, I want to, if Rome is not hearing this and somebody haven't gotten word to him already, we need to get in touch with somebody over here with the Railroad Workers United. We need to reach out to Kellogg. We need to reach out to all the union people. Liz Medina, I think is her last name. She's a AFL-CIO, was also on the summit. Let's continue. General strike. What's up, Curtis? Else capitalism no longer is working for them and they want out. Yep, general strike is coming. I'm reading general strike in this here without saying the words, but it barely comes very close to starting to spell out the words general strike. That's what is very, very close. The next line is general strike, bitch. You got to include the bitch. Watch the Fraud Squad take credit, won't they? Won't they come in here with their capes saying pat me on the back? Watch everybody fall in line now. Watch the the petty bourgeoisie. Watch they fall in line like this was their idea. Like they wasn't fucking calling our General Strike Summit out a year ago. Watch they pretend like that is the deal. Right on, CJ. You not tripping. It reads like it's called to general strike to me. And if I was another rail union member, I would be like, we need to be calling all unions. And I hope that I can't be the only one that's thinking this. I cannot be. And I think I'm not, and I know I'm not, because in the way that they're wording it, because I'm going to read that last part again. What's up, Dana? General strike. Absolutely need more strikes in our lives. Yes, we do. I'm on strike against my mortgage. I've been on a strike against my student loan payment. Oh, I've been doing that. We calling that a strike? Okay, then I've been on strike. I've been on that strike too. General strike right now. And you notice he said we will be, the release was saying we will be addressing this in other ways in the next coming months and years. That's the planning of a general strike. Because even you can say it now, but it takes planning. You have to build an infrastructure that you can withstand going on strike against capitalists. Because you think they're just going to lie down? They're marching us to nuclear war. They're killing the planet. Do you think they're just going to get mad at that some Marxists and Marxist inspired people have decided to say, fuck this shit? No. So let me read this part again because it's so inspiring. I'm sorry that I'm staying on this long, but this is very inspiring to me. Gives me more energy to fight and push for the general striking terms, not the terms of the general strike, what the demands are, but like let's move this general strike. People think we just talk about general strike and then it's the next day. General strike talking will take years as we're implementing it. It's an ongoing talk that's going to be continually happening as they're doing, as our adversary, the ruling class, the capitalists, is doing their counter sort of attacks. We're going to have to make different maneuvers here, different maneuvers there. But I'm jumping ahead of myself. Let me read this again. This is just incredible to me. And again, and you, for those who are just joining, why is it so incredible? They're just making a release. The reason it's incredible is because this is the union that they had to make legislation for. They're that important. They're saying this. That's huge. And I'll point out some other things. I mean, essentially, this entire last part. Railroad Workers Unions United, Railroad Workers United believes that railroad workers need to explore options other than the existing two political party since neither appears to have our backs. RWU also believes that the railroad workers need to consider doing away with the arcane and divided craft union system that hampers our unity and solidarity, broken up maybe intentionally to hamper the unity. Doing away with that and initiating the process of building a single and powerful railroad union that can win in future rounds of contract bargaining. According to the RWU organizer, Ron Kay, quote, "We have been played for well over a century. This is not just this. You hear, this is what I'm saying. They're not saying like, nigga, we're just mad for 20 years. They're saying we're tired of this shit. A century of this shit, we're done." We've been played for well over a century by politicians and union officials. They're saying our leaders in our unions alike, the same. This is the rank and file saying, the workers saying, fuck these union leaders, these co-opted union leaders. The fiasco of recent months will show that perhaps the time has come for railroad workers to push for a unified and powerful labor organizations of all crafts together with a political party. Once you bring the workers together in order to apply the dictatorship of the proletariat, you have to form a political party. Is this not what this is? Together with a political party that will better serve the interest, and this is the part that is not saying we just want a contract dispute. They're saying this whole shit needs to be flipped. Not just railroad workers, but all working class people. This is the working class party that we've all been dreaming about. It's time to apply the dictatorship of the proletariat. To me, this is just great, Anyway, I'll put up a couple of your comments, and then the thing is, I haven't even gotten to the story yet. This was just supposed to be, but it sets a beautiful foundation for the rest of the story. Because I wanted to read this to set the story for everything else. And think about what in history, if this actually moves down the road where I hope, and all Marxists hope this lead down to, the squad will be able to say, we voted against the rail workers that precipitated this. I guess they can claim that in history. If this leads to what I would hope, but it certainly sounds like the language. I wonder what Q and Mine. So if Nick is watching, we got to bring on Q to talk about this letter. We're sitting at 315 likes. We're at 430 people. Thank you for hitting the target. The target was 200 about an hour ago or 45 minutes ago. So the target was 200, and we're at 315. So let's push to 400. We have 432 people watching right now. Let's push to 400. Go read this shit. I'm gonna tell you, I may frame this shit and put this up in my room. And Rome, activate. Let's reach out to this union. Let me throw up your comments, and then we're gonna push to Kshama Sawant story. Wait a minute here. We've already 40 minutes in. I may have to just go directly to the Jimmy Dore story. So, yeah, I'll probably just go to the Jimmy Dore story. We're already 45 minutes in. I didn't expect it to take it this long, so we'll shoot right to the Jimmy Dore story. It's kind of intertwined with the rest of the story, so we'll do that. But anyway, let's go to comments. I do see one super chat, so let me start that. Let me make sure I don't miss those. There's number 2. I see a second super chat. Let's continue. I see a third super chat. Let me continue to make sure I'm not missing anything. I'm waiting for the chat to update. Okay, there it goes. All right, I don't think there's any others. Yes, the statement from RWU is fire. It's absolute fire. I don't think they'll want this. The general strike will be looked on like January 6th. Well, they can look. Oh, capitalists will kind of spin it that way. Capitalists will kind of spin it that way. If we come in and say, capitalists, it's time for this shit to go, sir. We're about to inflict the dictatorship of the proletariat. You have been excused. Why isn't the Green Party reaching out to these people to help and assist them? I don't know if they aren't, but if they aren't, this is the reason why Nick and I advocate for the Dr. Jill Stein wing of the party taking over the entire party. So, but I don't know. So I don't want to speak on whether they have or have not, because I just simply do not know. Oh, sorry. I do that, and I've been told this several times. But just when I'm just, seeing the letter, I say it all the time. So, but I've been told this, and my apologies again. Kshama Sawant, you're right. It's like when Bugging Out led a boycott of Sal's famous movie reference. This is why people have side eye of the Green Party. They have been silent on this whole time. And I get you. I do get you. So my rent is too damn high. And that's what a general strike like this, or something like along the lines of what this press release is talking about, should be focusing on. So absolutely. Like the stream, let's get to 400 before we get into the story. It could be a movement. You're right. Maybe it's not a strike. It could be a movement. I'm not sure if I'm chiming in the wrong place, but yeah. I need something about a debt strike where anybody pays their credit, or everybody pays their credit bill and cripple the big bank. Anyone knows more? Oh, you're asking a question. All right, so a couple more comments and then we'll get into the comments. Okay, the Bolsheviks changed the world. We can too. And that's something that I agree. I think with the energy's sake, I love that energy of that. So I'm gonna leave it there with the comments. So I can move forward with that type of energy from that comment. Again, we're pushing to 400 likes. All right, so let's get to the main story. I was going to start with the Kshama, and I've been saying Kshama. My apologies, but Kshama Sawant story. I thought, but because I'm almost an hour into it, because this release has just been great, let's go to the main story, and then I'll pivot back to these. So let's move from here, and I have the links over here. So let's see, which one do I want to start with here? let's go to this one, since this is one that a lot of us ourselves attended. This is because now, and I'm talking about the Medicare for Our March. So this first video, and this is just talking about a long history of failures by the squad and progressive Democrats, and it's told through the eyes or the voice of Jimmy Dore in a couple of his videos. And I wanted to do this Jimmy Dore inspired segment because we have Jimmy Dore tomorrow. So if you're here watching, Jimmy Dore will be here tomorrow on RBN Live. So today you saw the graphic. Didn't say Jimmy Dore was going to be here, but he was on there somewhere, I believe. Yeah. But tomorrow's graphic, if you see, it'll say joins RBN because he's actually going to physically be interviewed, or we're going to have a discussion with him, the Nick and CJ show tomorrow. So make sure you tune into that. I don't think it's at 12 my time, 3 p.m. Eastern. 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. But a long history of failures. A long history of failures. And that is the squad. So let's start that segment. And this is as told by Jimmy Dore. And let's go to the first one. This is Bernie and squad abandon Medicare for All March. In this video, you're going to see pictures of yourselves. Like Athene, I know I see in this. I know Rome, I see a picture of him at a march. JB, I saw a picture of him at one of the march locations. So this is us, our community. We're talking about how the squad has been disappointing and how it's just a long list of just failures by the squad.
I just find it funny that people who claim to be pushing, building a movement never do anything. They never have a movement. They never do a direct action. They never ask people to they never demand anything of politicians. That I'm talking about the Young Turks. I'm talking about Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian, who bullshit and say that we're building a movement. We build a movement based on union busting, imperialism, McCarthy smearing, and shitting on healthcare activists. Is that your fucking movement? So here's what happened this weekend. Medicare for All advocates take to the streets of over 50 U.S. cities. Wow.
Right there. There goes JB right there. And I don't, is that Meg? I'm not sure if that's because I know Meg is in. But JB, that's JB right there at one of the Medicare for All marches. So like I said, if you see yourself, shout yourself out in the comments. If you see yourself in any of these pictures. So, not that RBN has to prove ourselves to anybody, but we don't even bring up the Medicare for All march when we're talking about being activists. It's something I forgot. I think all the members at that time attended a march. I know Nick spoke where he was. I know Rome spoke where he was. I know JB. I know Sabby. Yeah. I didn't speak, but I attended the one. Yeah, was that the Medicare? Yeah, I attended that one where Jimmy Dore appeared, but I didn't stay as long to hear him speak. I was there earlier at the Boots and stuff, and did I streamed from there. Was Kyle Kalinske there or Sam Cedar? Jimmy Dore's there. The people that they call the online left were somehow obtained physical bodies and physically went to a Medicare for All march. Where were they? So let's continue a long history of failures by the squad, and Medicare for All March being one of them. And I'll pause the video when I recognize people that I know. If you see yourself, just toss your comment in there.
Now that's called grassroots organizing. But of course, the neoliberal shitlibs said it was not the right kind. Remember when AOC said we had to go out and organize? You guys got to go out and organize. That's what they're doing. That's what this is.
Remember when she said the Democratic Party doesn't do anything unless it's forced?
Remember that?
Yes.
Those are her words.
How can we have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness when we live in constant fear of illness, bankruptcy, and homelessness because of the outrageous for-profit healthcare system? This is an article in Common Dreams by Jessica Corbett. Just days before the 56th anniversary of Medicare being signed into law, at Medicare for old people, for senior citizens, put it that way, advocates for a universal public health insurance program in the United States to replace the private for-profit system held marches in more than 50 cities across the country on Saturday. The day of action was organized by a coalition of over 100 groups, from Mainers for Accountable Leadership, the Chicago Teachers Union, Sunrise Movement Seattle, to various arms of Democratic Socialists of America.
Now, look at the different organizations there. Like, it wasn't just crackpots, basically, like us. You know, it wasn't just like a bunch of RBNs, a bunch of randoms. Not that that would be a problem, but these are actual organizations, over 100 groups. Where were they?
Physicians for a National Health Program, the PNHP, and Our Revolution. So fractions of all those groups came together. Our movement was founded from a place of compassion and love, the coalition's website explains. We came together out of frustration with the lack of action from the powers that be. Many of us have our own personal stories as to why we are in this fight. It is a basic freedom. How can we have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness when we live in constant fear of illness, bankruptcy, or homelessness because of the outrageous for-profit healthcare system? In cities nationwide, including Atlanta, Austin, Chicago, Detroit, Honolulu, Kansas City, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Louisville, Nashville, New York, or...
Look how many different cities it's in. You mean to tell me they didn't hear about it? You mean to tell me not one of them could have showed up? You mean to tell me you couldn't organize people with your large platform? So how much evidence is needed for those, and I'm speaking to those that keep going back to the well of the Justice Democrat strategy, progressive Democrat strategy, and Teslin said it best. They're worse, actually, than corporate Democrats. And the reason they're worse is they're taking and funding their campaigns off of the backs of working class people who are expecting results which they know they're not going to deliver. The corporate Democrats are at least taking money from businesses and not delivering nothing. You're taking the hard-earned money of working class people and lying. So that makes you worse.
Orlando, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Salt Lake City, San Francisco, Seattle, Tampa, and Washington, D.C. Medicare for All supporters carried signs and chanted slogans directed at federal lawmakers. The coalition has three key demands for the United States government. One, pass, improved, and expanded Medicare for All immediately. Two, recognize healthcare as a human right for all people. And three, prioritize healthcare first in the federal budget, instead of defense spending. And here they are in New York City. Here they are in Los Angeles. That's the one.
Yeah, I know where this exactly is. Yeah, Highland. Yep. So this is where the one that I attended, the LA one, was.
Ron and I were at. Ron and I spoke.
Yep.
Here they are in Phoenix, Arizona. Here they are in Seattle.
There goes Feeney right there. Feeney used to be an RBN member, if you didn't know. Still love her. Still left good terms. Busy active in activism. But that's a Feeney. RBN members attended. This is activism here, right?
Seattle, Washington. There's a guy in a tie on. Here they are in Tallahassee, Florida. Here they are in San Francisco. Here they are in Milwaukee. I don't know where this is. We didn't put it up. Is this LA again? So here's the speech. Here, I'll play. So the interesting thing was, Ron, the lack of elected leaders who run on Medicare for All, who co-sponsor Medicare for All, who submit Medicare for All bills to Congress, didn't even acknowledge that this was happening. And here's my speech. No. Hey, where is CNN? Where the fuck is CNN? I don't know.
I'm going to pause it because the sound isn't that great, and I don't want to blast your ears with the speech. And I'll fast forward it past the speech. And then he says a little bit here at the end. Then we'll move to the next video here.
So there you go. I was trying to call out the people who actually have the leverage to make something happen. And they refuse to do it, and they don't represent you. And it's time of people of conscience to stop voting for the Democrats or the Republican Party. Those are two parties that are ruled by oligarchs. They serve the oligarchy, and they're here inflicting pain on the.
Doesn't that sound very similar to the press release? What Jimmy just said there about both parties and who they're working for, and they're not working for us. Doesn't that sound eerily similar?
On the American people. They're not there to help you or to serve you. They're there to inflict pain on you, and they're doing it. And who's propping them up and supporting them? The squad. Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the biggest cuck I've ever seen in my life. He is the opposite of what we thought he was. He is not going to fight, not even a little bit, for you. So get that through your fucking head. And that's why we got to get rid of this idea. Say, having people like Bernie Sanders and the squad in the Democratic Party, because that's what Bernie is. He's a Democrat. Having them in the Democratic Party actually hurts the movement, because it makes you think that they're going to fight for you inside that party. They're going to do something. That there is a party that I can believe in a party. I can go vote for a Democrat, and it's going to make a difference. We got to get that idea out of their fucking heads, because it's not going to make a difference. And as soon as they realize that, the better. And people like the squad being elected as a Democrat actually delays that process from happening, because until people realize both parties, no matter who is elected inside them, are there to crush you, no change will happen. So I invite the squad and Bernie Sanders to leave the Democratic Party and form a third party. I don't care which one it is. If it's the People's Party, the Green Party, your own party, start another fucking party outside that goddamn Democratic Party. But they're not going to do it. Why? Because they're all mediocre, narcissistic, self-dealing fucking hacks. Why else wouldn't they do what they're supposed to? Because they want their speaking fees. Because they want their book deals. Because if they're in Congress for 5 years, they get a pension for the rest of their fucking life. And plus, they're cowards.
I think that sums up quite beautifully the point. Or it sharpens the point there. But let's go to the next video. And this one, yeah, here we go. This one talks CNN calling out Cori Bush about why aren't the squad voting as a block? So we have the squad. This is another long. So we should have known it was going to be a long list of failures when we heard Cori Bush say,
So Cori Bush,
we don't vote as a block. She was a newly elected, and she got to town. She was like, "Okay, I'm here to do a change." They said, "Hey, slow down, girl. We don't vote as a block here. You silly, silly girl." That's what happened. So let's go to this next one. I like to give the title. It says, "Even CNN as squad to use their leverage."
So Cory Bush. So the big problem is that Force the Vote revealed that when we all organized, we all donated, we all raised consciousness, and we got a bunch of progressives elected to Congress called the Justice Democrats. They're supposed to work as a bloc, just like the Freedom Caucus did, the Tea Party Freedom Caucus did. And I know they were supposed to do that because Kyle Kalinske, who founded the Justice Democrats, said so. And I showed you that last week on the show, that he said the whole point of the Justice Democrats, and I know because I founded it, was they vote as a bloc and use and then they're not doing that. And it's gotten so bad, Ron, that even CNN has noticed. So I noticed with Force the Vote, and now it seems like everyone, even CNN, watch this. Cory Bush,
Senate,
Cory Bush goes on CNN, and watch what CNN does.
Senate, Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia has essentially, used what seems to be a veto power against a lot of progressive priorities, including some of the ones that you've mentioned. But in the House, Democrats have this 2-seat majority. There are 6 members of the squad, of which you are a part. What's stopping you from flexing that same power for your agenda? You just said you would vote against a compromise on qualified immunity. Are you prepared, and the rest of the squad prepared, to use that kind of veto power that you have if you vote as a bloc?
So before they even get to her face, you can see in Cory Bush's face what went down. It's like she has that look of, that sounds like a great idea to vote as a bloc. But when I got here, they told me, "Hey, listen, newbie, nobody around here votes as a bloc, so shut the fuck up." That's what I was told. That's the look, and that's the tone and way she answers it. So you listen, you tell me if that's the way you interpret it.
I'm prepared to do whatever is needed to make sure that that our agenda moves forward. But I can't speak for the rest of the squad members. At the end of the day,
does that sound like a pleasant conversation? That was so uneasy for her to say, which clearly must have taken her back emotionally, mentally, to a conversation that wasn't pleasant. Nobody has that about anything good. That's not your reaction. So clearly, she thought, "Yeah, let's vote as a bloc." And somebody said, little girl, sweet summer child. What does that Nick say? Sit down and shut up. We don't do that here. You trying to get shit done for the working class? What are you? A civil servant? But let's listen.
Power that you have if you vote as a bloc.
I'm prepared to do whatever is needed
that
to make
right
sure.
There, come on, man. It's like she is not trying to say what she was really told behind the scenes. Like she's not trying to characterize it or anything. So that is the jumbling of her words there. She's not trying to give off that she was told, "Shut the fuck up about that shit."
You vote as a bloc.
I'm prepared to do whatever is needed to make sure that that our agenda moves forward. But I can't speak for the rest of the squad members. At the end of the day, my sister Ayanna Presley says it all the time. You vote alone, and you're voting for your.
You vote. She says it all the time. You vote alone, and I will get you a book deal in a couple of months.
Your districts. So you're voting for the people who voted you in. You're voting
as if this is that line. I'm voting for as if your district don't want food. don't want housing, don't want police killing people. They say that as if people all over the world don't want some of the same basic shit: healthcare, money, food, a place to live. You know what I'm saying? Like, that means nothing to say that I'm voting for my constituency. Yeah. Yeah, no. I'll throw that up there. With her $500 hairdo. It's a shame. All right, let's continue.
You're voting their needs and their values.
So you're outnumbered, but you have leverage if you vote together as a block, and you won't even band together to use your leverage and vote as a block. Well, that's reassuring. That is reassuring. She won't even. And so here is Marianne Williamson calls bullshit. She says, I don't get the you vote alone comment. They're not willing to vote as a block and exert that power that comes from that. No, Marianne. And this is what's been.
But you, Marianne, want us to keep voting for them. The petty bourgeoisie. The Jenks. Emmas, the Sams, Nominkis, Ben Dixons. They're admitting. The squad, what's the use in voting in squad members, 100 of them progressives, if they don't vote as a block? And they are telling us we're not voting in the block as a block, no matter how many people you send here.
It's been going on since Forced to Vote. We highlighted this starting last November, that they're not going to do this. And I knew they weren't going to do it, because if they were going to do it, they would have brought it up instead of letting a pothead podcaster come up with it. It wasn't like I'm some kind. They knew that they had the votes. They all have staffs of 20. You don't think there's someone like, hey, why don't we use our politics one?
Let me read these super chats. They starting to pile up here. So let's go. I'm gonna try to. Well, maybe I won't go in order. They're all out of order. I thought when you save them, they do. They don't save them in order when you save them. Okay, let's go to. Looks like 12:46 right here. Where is the Green Party? Oh, I read that one. Sorry, that wasn't the one. This one. If we get the truckers and conductors, it's over. Game, set, match. Absolutely. The railroad workers, along with the truckers, conductors, game, set, match. This is what we want right here. Get out of here. Literally. What are they going to do? Let me see if there's another one. I think I missed this one. Capitalism cannot provide the material needs of the masses, period. End of history. Spot on. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you all for the super chat. The first one was Caleb. Second one, Black Fred or Freed. I think that's how you say it. Super sticker by Zach. I think I showed that one. Now let's go back down and see who we're missing here. This one. I am made. I don't know. 199. Thank you for keeping things real. Peace. Expose these devils. That's just what they are. So all the districts in the U.S. want Ukraine money. Exactly. Exactly. So that's what you're telling me? You're telling me, thanks for the super chat, Jay the informant. So if you're not voting as a bloc, what happened with the Ukraine aid? All your districts voted for Ukraine aid? That's what your constituency wanted? Great point. Oh, this is I wanted to read this one too. It's not a super chat, but I thought it was a funny comment. I'm glad Jimmy Dore is showing up on Revolutionary Blackout tomorrow. Nick has been carrying weight on his show to get Jimmy click. It's about time Jimmy reciprocated. Just kidding. Thought it was funny. I think that's all of them. And if I miss one, my apologies. Did not miss it on purpose. Oh, I see this last one here. Ben Dixon preparing to replace Al Sharpton. That is exactly what he's doing. And will be as effective as Al Sharpton, too. And will carry water for the Democratic Party like Al Sharpton. Dems are paid to lose, period. That I agree. And let's continue with the video.
101. Nobody, of course they did. They're not going to do it on purpose. And Marianne Williamson still doesn't understand that they're not going to do it on purpose. It's not an accident, but I appreciate her saying that. That's super good. And by the way, you're not the one who isn't understanding. Marianne Williamson, when she says, I don't get it. No, you get it. It's okay. So we all voted individual to re-up Pelosi as speaker. Yeah, that's worse. So she's just saying, yeah, instead of voting as a block, we all voted individually. We all voted individually to re-up Pelosi as speaker. That's worse. We didn't strategize at all. And we just all individually expressed poor judgment. We didn't strategize or vote as a block. We didn't do any of that stuff. You know the reason we were sent here? We're not doing it. What it means is they haven't, nor do they plan on, getting together as a block to fight for anything. They've shown no signs of it so far. They make cheerleader tweets, but there is no action. Tweeting is as far as they will go and as far as doing something. I'm glad we can all stop pretending now. There is no squad. It's just a dead phrase. That is exactly right. The whole purpose of having a group is to use the power of the group to push through policies that they all ran on and agreed needed to happen to help people who put them in office. Cori Bush just confirmed that the squad has zero strategy. Wow. They are completely useless. No, they're not. They're useless to us, but they're very useful to the Democratic corporate party because it keeps people from starting a third party outside the Democratic corporate party and actually challenging power. That's what the Justice Democrats are actually doing. The Justice Democrats are actually there thwarting real opposition to the establishment.
And that is key. All of these iterations are just reincarnations of the same concept to put out these buoys to draw in non-establishment left-leaning people from going too far, draw them back in to the Democratic establishment by way of the Working People's Party or whatever it's called, the one that's heavily aligned with them in New York City, in the state of New York, actually. Excuse me. Let's move to the next video here. Now, so far we're talked about healthcare, the Medicare for All march. Then we talked about strategy, voting as a block. They don't do that. So they're not here on healthcare. They're not helping on healthcare. Their strategy is terrible. They don't want to vote as a block. So I don't even know what's the purpose of even calling them a group. Now, let's go to Justin Jackson. I'm sorry, Jimmy, when he had Justin Jackson on the show. And if you those don't remember, that's the football player from the Los Angeles Chargers. He's now up in LA now. Let's talk about $15 minimum wage. I'm trying to hit multiple different points to make the point. So let's go to minimum wage. Or the fight for 15, I should say. I think that's the phrasing that's used here. So let's use the same phrasing to match this up. So let me get this prepared. Let me give you the name of the video. This one is called Squad Tweets But Won't Force Stimulus 15 Minimum Wage with Justin Jackson. Oh, so it's shorthand so they can fit everything into the title. So That's why that is. But Justin Jackson joins the stream for here. So let's listen to Justin and Jimmy speak.
Let's talk about the progressive posturing. I'm here with Justin Jackson. The thing is, here's what David Sirota, friend of the show, David Sirota says. The thing is, if 6 is that, I still like David Sirota.
He's fighting hard on Twitter.
And Twitter, he's great. He's great on Twitter. He says the thing is, if 6 out of 10 House Democrat, he must not be in my shadow because he doesn't bother me. I don't get it. I don't have a reaction to David Sirota. I don't have it's like so he must not be in my shadow. No. But I do have a reaction to other people. So they must be in my shadow. The thing is, if 6 out of 10 House Democrats draw a line in the sand and say they aren't voting for a COVID relief bill without a minimum wage hike in it, they become instant megastars. They get to be heroes on a wildly popular issue and save the Democratic Party from itself. Truly an epic opportunity. But they won't draw their...
And here is another Democratic shield out to gather non-establishment energy and push them back to the Democratic Party. He's another one. Marianne Williamson is another one. Robert Retch is another one. All right, I think that's his name, is another one. There's several of them. Nina Turner is playing that role, especially through TYT Network and all of the of course, all of the liberal establishment media, the boutique left, the SA, Jacobin type. All right, I think I covered everybody.
Draw their line in the sand, as David, he knows this, but but they won't draw their line in the sand, Justin. They won't even dip their toe in the frickin' water.
Hey, they said this bill is a win. Like that's what
they're saying.
It's not a win.
I know.
Don't lie.
It's a win if the Republicans if the Republicans ran Congress, it would be a win. If it was a Republican president, it might be a win.
That would be a win, exactly.
But this is definitely, you guys just fucking fumbled on your own. Whatever, you fucked yourselves. How about that? I'll do a porno reference. You guys just fuck yourself. I can't do sports. So here,
$15 minimum wage was the bare minimum ask. Bare minimum. And the fact that it's not in this bill, this is not a great bill.
They won't even do the bare minimum of the bare minimum. So here's what.
If you are not catching what they're talking about, so the $15, I should have explained this better. $15 minimum wage, for those that don't know, was not put into the bill because supposedly the Senate parliamentarian said something about not being the bill, and squad silent, nothing is being said about it. So that is a little more background. And they're talking about how the $15 minimum wage is not in the bill.
David's go back to David Sirota, Twitter killer. He says it would be hard for 6 to 10 House Democrats to stand up and say they aren't voting for any COVID relief bill without minimum wage, but that's what real heroism is. The hard is what creates greatness. They have a rare opportunity to make real change right now. They have the power. They actually do. That's what sounds exactly like what we were all saying about forced to vote. I think even David Sirota was saying that about forced to vote. Eventually he came around. Yes. And CNN here. So here's Ilhan Omar. Now this is about a 2-minute clip I'm going to play. And here, let's just listen to her. Here she is being asked about this.
When you look at this, and this specifically this agreement when it comes to reducing the cap on the relief checks, do you see this as Joe Biden abandoning progressives?
I see it as a really disappointing development. We obviously are now ultimately sending money to less people than the...
That was pretty adversarial, wouldn't you say? She was being real rough on Joe Biden right there. She said, this is a difficult development or challenging development. Let me get the exact phrasing again. Just weak.
Agreement when it comes to reducing the cap on the relief checks. Do you see this as Joe Biden abandoning progressives?
I see it as a really disappointing development.
All A really disappointing development. You see how she is used. They bring her on and ask her that question so she can be the person that is representing the left to say, no, I wouldn't characterize Joe Biden that way. Because if she says it, if she answers, hell yeah, then she'll be in trouble. So she softens the language.
We obviously are now ultimately sending money to less people than the Trump administration and the Senate majority Republicans were willing to. There are going to be about 17 million people who will get less money. This is not.
So another thing, 17 million people got less money.
The promise that we made. This is not where we are, given the opportunity to be in the majority in the Senate and have the White House. And so ultimately it is, a failure when we compromise ourselves out of delivering on behalf of the American people and keeping our promises.
I mean,
that was a very long answer to say yes. That's what she wanted. Yes, it's a failure. That was all that was needed in that answer. Yes, we're literally dividing crumbs from the crumbs. But here she goes on to say even more.
To be clear on what you're saying, that Trump wanted to deliver more in the way of checks for Americans than Biden.
Yes.
Yeah, so the last checks that we were able to send had given 17 million more people than we will ultimately do with the caps now. And that is going to be something that we're going to have to explain. And I don't know if many of us have a logical explanation on why we are delivering less than what the Republicans were willing to compromise us on delivering on behalf of the American people.
Okay.
You're
so
facing
the
some
question is, do y'all have a plan to force a vote on it?
So the question is, what is your strategy now to deal with this impasse legislatively that the Democratic establishment is forcing on you? What is your plan? What's your strategy? Because
the strategy, let's go back. Remember, we know what the strategy is. So anytime he asked it, we can answer. The strategy is not to vote as a block. That's the strategy.
You guys you're Justice Democrats. You are going to work as a strategy and work as a vote as a block, right? No, they're just not. I don't know, Justin, but there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency in her voice.
No, there's
at all.
There's not, and that's a problem, and they need to answer to why they know this is a must-pass bill, and you're telling me putting a $15 minimum wage isn't worth 3 or 4 extra days,
right?
Like that's the question, because people have been waiting. I saw a guy on Twitter was like, I've been homeless, like waiting for this check so I can put it in my bank account and actually sign a lease for like my disabled mom and me. I'm like, there's people out there like that have been waiting for this immediate check for 2-3 months. You telling me 3 extra days to get millions of people double their wage, and they call lift out of poverty. It's not worth 2 or 3 or 4 extra days to make them relitigate and renegotiate all this. They're not willing to do that.
And then when she goes on, and she has absolute. I mean, if you could show her, Mike, show the. She doesn't seem upset. She doesn't see her hair's not on fire.
Because she's supposed to not do that. So she is not supposed to show panic, upsetness about the establishment coming down and crushing progressive ideas, policies again. Pramila Jayapal does the same thing. Loses, voted, crumbled or caved, and decided to vote on those split bills. Then Manchin ended up saying, "Oh, I can't do this other bill. I'm out." So that stopped the second bill. So they got hoodwinked. And then she goes on there and says Biden is doing a good job. So they're not on there to tell the truth or give an accurate description or show urgency. Everything's okay. So that's exactly what they're supposed to do. Let's go to the final video, I think, in this, because I wanted to touch upon each different topic. So again, healthcare we did, strategy, which is no strategy, $15 minimum wage, and we're going to add no urgency. That's part of their strategy too. No urgency. So now let's go to war. Again, want to touch up on all of multiple topics about this crew, about these people. And that video, where is it? I'm pulling that video up now. Okay, there it goes. I was waiting to see if that was it. All right, so we're at 500 likes as the video opens. Let's see if we can push another 25, 525. We get 25 more likes, a lot of new people watching. All right, here goes the video. Let's push to 25 more.
Okay, I'm here
525
with
more.
comedian.
Or
Kurt
525 total, not more. That is the target. All right, so let's go to this one. The title of this video is "The Squad Pushes War and Imperialism in Ukraine." So now we can add war to this list, and I have a list of 5. Healthcare, strategy, $15 minimum wage, no urgency. Now we have war. Let's listen.
Okay, I'm here with the American comedian Kurt Metzger, and what we're talking about is the Ukraine war and how the Squad has reacted to it. Here's what AOC tweeted out: "The conflict between Ukraine and Russia is profoundly concerning, but military conflict is not the solution. We must seek a diplomatic resolution rather than escalate tensions and avoid sanctions that hurt the Ukrainian people."
Okay.
She deleted that tweet.
Oh, good. Oh, thank God.
So the people's
So she deleted the tweet, bro. Because she's supporting the war now. So let's listen.
So the People's Party tweeted this out. It says AOC began. Okay. Let me see. Okay. It says AOC began February by tweeting that we must avoid sanctions. She then deleted the tweet. By the end of February, she supported the sanctions. Conclusion: AOC and the Squad are very much a part of the establishment. Hashtag Ukraine.
Just like that.
She has to make deals. That's how she helped get this union thing done.
Yeah. So she kept this tweet up for a whole week before she deleted it. And so here let's take a look at the Squad. The Squad calls for Ukraine intervention in Ukraine. Progressive, this is from Left Voice. Progressive members of Congress are calling for sanctions against Russia as the war in Ukraine continues to escalate. We need an anti-war movement that condemns every call for U.S. intervention of any sort. And that's by Sam Carliner. And that's from February 26th. And on February 23rd, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or Sandy, as she was called before she ran for office, she first weighed in on the war in Ukraine, calling for the United States to escalate its intervention using sanctions. She tweeted the following message from her congressional Twitter account: "Russia's invasion of Ukraine is indefensible. The U.S. is right to impose targeted sanctions on Putin and his oligarchs.
Oh my God.
We also must work." Is right.
This is a leftist. The U.S. is right to impose targeted sanctions on Putin and his oligarchs.
So she was against them. Now she's for them. "We also must work with our allies to prepare for a refugee crisis on a massive scale. Finally, any military action must take place with congressional approval."
And yes, in advance.
And of course, you have my approval of the military and sanctions. Since then, other members of the Squad of progressives members of Congress have spoken out. Cory Bush joined the calls for sanctions, and Jamal Bowman released a statement condemning Russia's unchecked imperialism and Putin's violation of international law. Boy, that Jamal Bowman is really revealing something, even faster than AOC did, that he's a complete sellout piece of it.
Was he on?
Yeah, that's the same thing Nick and I say. Like, that guy flipped like the quickest flip I've ever seen, that guy.
Bill Maher not that long ago? I think he was, and
I-
he came off like, "Wow, you're going to like Congress practice to say all the things
Yes,
with like a
yes.
big smile."
I don't know if he was. I don't watch Bill Maher that closely, but I'll look. Here's Cory Bush. She said, we must impose swift sanctions targeted at Putin's oligarchs who have made the Russian economy one of the most unequal in the world, unlike the United fucking States, huh?
Well, they have unchecked imperialism. You know how that sucks.
That's as well as the Russian military. Okay. She then says, I have long opposed mass, broad-based sanctions that would cause grave, deadly harm to civilians for the decisions of corrupt oligarchs. And in Russia is no different. Broad-based sanctions would not only be ineffective, but would also condemn a generation of Russians into poverty and mass suffering. Now, she's right when she says that, but it's weird because it sounded like here she was actually calling for sanctions, but she was calling for targeted sanctions. Now, I don't know what those are. And apparently, neither do the other people, because she then voted against these sanctions because she voted against them. So that's good that Cory Bush voted against them. Bauman's statement says nothing about U.S. imperialism and its 800 there's more than 800 military bases around the world. Instead, Bauman says that he is committed to supporting the Biden administration in holding Putin and his oligarchs accountable. So you see the kind of slippery, slimy guy that Jamal Bowman actually is. He's a slimy guy.
But Jimmy,
and let me just toss up, take a moment here to toss up some headlines. I'm not going to read these. There's too many, but let's put this in here. So AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, praised Biden, defends war against Russia, and attacks socialist critics in interview with Intercept. A long history of failure. Squad. The Bernie Sanders tree. Let's bring up another headline here. So there's that one. Then let's go to this one. New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez reneges on pledge to vote against bill funding Israeli war crimes. Let's move this one up. And let's move this one up. All right, I'm just adjusting the other ones that I'm going to be showing you here. So more. Like at what point, how many headlines that needs to be shown to say, okay, maybe she's not what we need her to be. But here's one, more broadly speaking. The significance of the Democratic Socialists of America call for a U.S. war against Russia until Ukrainian victory, meaning until the last Ukraine die. Democratic Socialists of America. That's her group. She is a DSA-backed member. Let's go to the next one. AOC funds the CIA Democrats. Long history of failures. And I think I may have one more. Let me see if I have one more here. Yeah. Bernie Sanders DSA play crucial. Oh, sorry. This is for later, but this is a good headline. But this article is the article we're going to cover for the Bernie segment. DSA play crucial role in passing anti-strike law against railroaders. And the reason this comes up too for this segment and the other, because AOC and all the progressives are mentioned here for backing this law. So those are just a few headlines to put in as receipts for this segment before we finish out this segment, because we are coming to a close for this segment. And we're gonna switch. So healthcare we covered from Jimmy Dore, strategy from Jimmy Dore, $15 minimum wage, no urgency, 5 war, not really anti-war. And then there's one other thing, and I couldn't leave without making sure I include this part, because this is the police state, and it's very important for the RBN. So let's talk about funding the police more. So the people that are going to be fighting against any sort of movement or general strike that the railroad workers would organize with any other unions and us, they're funding them. The squad are funding those police. So this title of this video is Squad, What Happened? ? Like, what happened to the squad? So let's listen.
So I wanted to show you this article. First of all, Ralph Nader tweeted this out. It's an article from the Chicago Reader. Now, I'm from Chicago, and I like the Chicago Reader a lot. And it's an article. By the way, what happened to the squad? The question. I guess we'll have to go on Twitch to find out. I don't know how you find out. What happened to the squad? There hasn't been a tweet in over 30 minutes.
Oh my God, are they doing okay?
Our healthcare system is designed to maximize profit, barely functions in the best of times. Now in the pandemic, the wheels have come off. Consequently, Medicare for All is more popular than ever, favored by 85% of the Democratic voters and about half of Republican voters. Yet Democratic Party leaders still refuse to even hold hearings on the bill. Wow. It's almost like public opinion doesn't matter when it comes to healthcare. Just a few years ago, Democratic voters elected a group of progressives who promised to go to Washington, D.C. and start a political revolution. Just for the record, they get an A in revolution starting. I'm sorry. They don't get an A in revolution starting. That was what I was supposed to say. Led by Alexander Hirsch of New York, the squad promised to take on the corporate wing of the Democratic Party and fight for programs that benefit working people over the donor class. First on their list was Medicare for All. That was first on their list. Boy, this guy at the Reader really... First on their list was Medicare for All. And now it's not even on their list. Now they say if we vote on it, it'll be bad. So let's not even talk about it. And they're not. It is sad to report that in just a few short years, the squad has collapsed into a puddle of excuses and Twitter spats. And a few emojis, too. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi has demanded all hands on deck to protect the party's donors in this unique time of crisis. And the squad has fallen in line. All hands on deck for the donors. Dinners are $10,000 a plate. Because of the Democrats' slim majority in the House, just a handful of progressives had the power to demand a vote on Medicare for All if they chose to exercise that power on behalf of working people. The squad did finally coordinate their votes last month, but it was not to help working people. What was it there? It was there. So the 3 out of the 6 squad members, including AOC, agreed to vote present to assure the passage of a bill to increase the funding of the Capitol Police by almost $2 billion.
Increase the Capitol funding police funding to the police, Capitol Police by almost $2 billion. Now, they voted present and the bill passed by 1 vote. You see how they literally are saying, we have the power, fuck that shit. They could have stopped that bill. So a present vote is a yes vote. When your vote literally could stop the funding of Capitol Police. Let's continue.
All 6 members of the squad told activist groups that they opposed the bill. But then behind closed doors, they coordinated their votes so that the bill could pass by a 1 vote margin. So they are coordinating their votes. They're just not going to coordinate their votes to help you or to fight for you. They're going to coordinate their votes to screw you and to fund the police. Even worse, the squad have run interference for President Biden, discouraging their millions of followers on social media from demanding that he keep his campaign promises. I know, it's amazing. Biden has already abandoned every promise he made to working people, including a 15.
Okay, so now he's going to cover the minimum wage, which we already covered. So let's recap. In closing out this segment, let's recap the long history of failure. So we've covered many different categories. Healthcare category, the failure. Strategy category, they don't vote as a block. $15 minimum wage. None of them show a sense of urgency, but all of them support war. They're not anti-war. All of them supported the passage of funding the police state more. So, long list of failures by Jimmy Dore. End of this segment. Let's move to the Kshama Sawant segment here. And the first thing we're going to start with is, this will be 2 quick segments that we do before we end here. First thing we're going to start with is this here, this tweet by Kshama. And is there a way to make this? Oh, I'm already there. So let's just make this a little bit bigger. And I have 2 tweets from her? I'll go to the bookmark and see. But anyway, so this next, I keep saying Kshama that time, or Kshama. I keep doing that. So Kshama. So squad is not having a good day, a good week, really, good month. Kshama calls out the squad. So that is this next segment. That is the tweet we're going to be covering here. But first, let's like the stream. And also, we have, if you just joining us, hour and 40 minutes in, we maybe have another 30 minutes to go in the show to cover 2 more stories. They're both maybe, I doubt if they're 15 minutes each, so maybe 20 minutes left in the show. What was I just? Oh, join our Substack so that you can get notifications and you were able to show up to our live streams earlier to watch it from the beginning. Or if you want notifications of when we post clips of our streams, we also send notifications for when we do that. So whether you join or for whatever reason you pick Substack to join, you will get notifications for both. We're sitting at 550 likes, and we got many new people still here, haven't liked the stream. We can do another 50 more to get to 600. And now let's get back to the story. 2 quick stories before we get out of here. Kshama Sawant calls out the squad. Let's look at this tweet from Kshama here. Oh, shoot. I guess I can include it here. This next, after this tweet, when I get to the articles, it could have been in this story or the previous story with Jimmy because it involves Jimmy too. But let's read this tweet from Kshama. All but one of squad crossed the picket line. voting with Dem Repub majority to break rail workers' strike. A socialist can't be a strike breaker. Let's say that again with Kshama. A socialist can't be a strike breaker. This should result in expulsion from DSA. Failing that, the squad's betrayal of workers becomes DSA's betrayal. Call him directly out. This is the type of call out, the type of public, the type of adversarial addressing that needs to be done by Kshama. And I'm going to read that last part again. A socialist can't be a strike breaker. This should result in expulsion from DSA. Failing that, the squad's betrayal of workers becomes the DSA's betrayal. Meaning, if DSA doesn't do anything about this, you are also betraying workers. And let's continue with going. I'm sorry. Supposed to go to bookmarks. I think there might be another tweet that I have to show from her. And then we got a couple of articles to go to. So let's do that. Oh, could have went to these tweets for the Jimmy Dore segment, but I posted them for you to see. So hopefully you saw them on our YouTube channel tab. So let's now go. Oh, and I forgot the segment got too long. This is also for the segment that we went over, but it was way too long. So let's see what Nick has to say about Kshama's tweet we just read. And then it says, great point by, I keep saying Kshama because I keep saying it. So great point by Kshama. If DSA is a serious organization, the squad union busting should lead to expulsion. Nick, I retweeted that. So that was one of the tweets I was looking for. And there's her tweet. So maybe that was all then. That could have been it. Yeah, that was it. All right. So let's then go to the article that Kshama tweets out here. So let's do that. Let's go to not that one. This one. Which title? Rail workers betrayed. Okay, so that's because I have two socialist alternative articles up. So let's go to that one. This one right here. And let's blow this up a little bit. Rail workers betrayed by Biden and the squad. This is written directly or written by Kshama Sawant. And let's read. And this was released today, so this is brand new. When AOC and other members of the squad were first elected, most of them did so as self-identified Democratic socialists. They ran on working class platforms that included Medicare for all and a federal $15 minimum wage, vowing they would be accountable to working class and oppressed people. In the first year after Biden took office, with the Democrats in control of all three branches of government, squad members abandoned the first two of these three commitments. First, refusing to force the vote on Medicare for all, and then rejecting any sort of fight for the $15 minimum wage. Now, the third of these promises has been utterly shattered. All but one of the squad members crossed the picket lines and voted with a majority of both Republican and Democrats in Congress to break the rail worker strike, cutting off those workers' right to legally withdraw their labor. In doing so, they took a clear side with the billionaire railroad bosses against rail workers who have suffered intolerable conditions over decades. This is a profound betrayal of working class people. And I'll read it again. This is a profound portrayal of working class people. Years of negotiations between 12 unions representing 150,000 rail workers and the handful of corporations that control 90% of freight rail traffic, as well as the tracks that carry most passenger trains, have now been brought to a screeching halt under the leadership of a Democratic president who describes himself as a pro-labor along with the left as his party. The squad, and she puts that in quote, and Congressional Progressive Caucus, including Pramila Jayapal, attempted to give themselves left cover by voting for a second bill. Attempted to give themselves left cover. That second bill was an attempt to give them cover. We said this yesterday in the stream. That included the rail workers' key demand for paid sick leave alongside the primary legislation to kill the strike. This sleight of hand should fool no one. However, as it was widely recognized that the sick leave bill would face a sudden death in the Senate, which it did following the following day, all that would be left would be a broken strike. Dire conditions for rail workers. Workers across 4 unions, which together represent a majority of workforce, the sheet metal, air, rail, and transportation workers transportation division, or SMART is usually the short term or the abbreviated version, the Brotherhood of Railway Signalmen, the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employee Teamsters, and the International Brotherhood of Boilermakers had rejected the proposed contract. But the votes of 80 U.S. senators and 290 U.S. United States representatives were enough to enforce the deal that the rail magnates wanted. This outcome was the one that bosses had counted on from the start, knowing that they had the ace, and I'm going to describe it that way, in their back pockets. They hold both political parties, in the palm of their hands. The immense pressure that the railroad workers are under following years of staff cutting have been well documented. And there's a link here if you want to go to see that documentation. Yet President Biden claimed with practice hypocrisy to be acting on behalf of millions of workers who might be harmed if the strike went ahead. Despite the fact that retailers' shelves are already stocked for Christmas, the Democrats have implied that the need of other workers to enjoy their holiday supersedes the need of rail workers to have any control over their lives, family, and health. But this logic is totally backwards. A win for rail workers would have been a win for workers all over the U.S. who are increasingly ground down by overworked and by knowledge that they are living to work, not working to live. That is a great, great quote here. Let me see if there's any other subheadlines. And I want to go to this part here. And this calling out. Let's read this second part, or this specific part. Now, there's more to the article. I'm not reading all the article because I want you to go to their website to read it, which is socialistalternative.org. But let's read a little. Let's skip to this part where they zero in on the squad, since we're talking about the squad in this segment. The squad's capitulation in DSA. When it became clear that Congress would be asked to intervene to prevent a strike, Bernie Sanders looked for procedural ways to soften the blow of this defeat on workers. His solution was to include an amendment giving workers 7 days of paid sick time, a little under half of workers' original demand. To his credit, Bernie was quite clear that from the beginning that without this addition, he would not vote to impose the TA. And when his amendment failed, he voted no. So Bernie voted no. It's utterly shameful that the same cannot be said of AOC and the majority of the squad in the House, as all but one whom voted to crush the strike. AOC justified her vote by claiming she was fighting tooth and nail for the additional sick days. Jamal Bowman claimed he was always fighting in solidarity with the workers. They just used the language. But what the Congressional Progressive Caucus pulled was a con job, and a ham-fisted one at that. They colluded with Pelosi to separate out the vote into two, promising their roughly 100 votes on the rotten TA in exchange for a separate vote on the sick day amendment, which they knew full well would get crushed in the Senate. So this is what they did. And this also kind of speaks to when we get to the Bernie segment. All of these segments are kind of together, but when we get to the Bernie segment, and I go to that article with the World Socialist website, they go into more detail of how pretending as if this is a viable, you know how they like to use that when it gets to the Green Party? Oh, they're not viable. This bill was not viable, and they knew it wasn't viable. So what the squad did was say, we'll vote yes to break the strike if we're able to do this separate bill, which we know is not going anywhere. How is that a socialist? It took only one day to confirm the brutal reality that the majority of the squad, in coordination with the leaders of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, sold rail workers down the river while blowing smoke about paid sick leave. On November 30th, Democratic Socialists of America National Center posted a statement of support for the rail workers, which included this sentence: any member of Congress who votes yes on the tentative agreement is siding with billionaires and forcing a contract on rail workers that does not address their most pressing demand of paid sick days. That was included in DSA's statement. Now, was that second bill the maneuver that DSA is going to use to say, well, they did try to address the paid sick day? You see how it all is connected? What then of their own members and endorsed elected officials in Congress who voted yes? What this statement implies and what the action of the squad definitely proves is that these elected officials, and some themselves as part of the capitalist state, the state that acts for billionaires and against the interests of the majority, the working class. In bold, a socialist cannot be a strikebreaker. This needs to be the end of the pretense by the DSA that the squad is socialist and should result in their expulsion from the organization. Failing that, the squad's betrayal of working class becomes DSA's betrayal. Just destroying the DSA if they don't act. The danger inherent is in this sellout, beyond the obvious quality of life damage to rail workers themselves, is that it will drive working people into the arms of right wing. Remember, I said this leaves the lane open for the right wing to go, hey, we're working class over here. This is how progressive Democrats create fascism, rising fascism in the GOP. So all of you who keep talking about Republican fascism, the Jordan Sheritons, the Sam Cedars, the Emma Viglins, the Mikes from Humanist Report, all of TYT, Jank, Anna, John over there, all the hand-wringing you do about Republican fascism is built by bricks made by the squad. The fact that more Republicans, so let me finish this because I skipped over the part. The danger inherent in this sellout, beyond the obvious quality of life damage to rail workers themselves, is that it will drive working people into the arms of the right wing, which can posture as working class political alternatives to the Democrats. The fact that more Republican senators voted against imposing the TA than Democrats is stunning proof of this. Kshama with beautifully written just ripping apart the squad, this facade, and I hope we're finally bringing to an end the CIA narrative of the squad being a real thing. This is a total con job that needs to be dismantled, and we're going to end there with Kshama Sawant's segment. Or I'm sorry, I keep doing that. Kshama Sawant, not Kshama. Kshama Sawant segment there, and we're gonna quickly pivot to the Bernie part of this, and I'm just gonna toss up the headline actually before we pivot to the Bernie. Let's include this with the Kshama segment. This could have been in the Jimmy Dore segment. Jimmy Dore is right. AOC should force a vote on Medicare for all. This one's written by Aaron Brightwell, but on the Socialist Alternative website. Okay, so just another headline you can check out. Either this could go with either one, calling out the squad even more in this article, which she does, or this could go with the Jimmy Dore segment. But so yeah. All right, so now we're going to pivot to the next and final topic here. I don't think I'm going to get to the Democratic killer robots. I'm going to have to push to another day. Maybe tomorrow after we speak with Jimmy. And don't forget, tomorrow we have Jimmy, 3 p.m. Eastern. Now we're going to go in depth. I showed you the headline of this article, but now we're going to go in depth. Where am I? To read how he, and it's similar to the article we read on Socialist website, but it wasn't about Bernie. It was about the squad and how they just maneuvered with this sleight of hand. Bernie Sanders participated in that too. And this article talks about his participation in it. Bernie. Let's see. Bernie plays crucial role in anti-worker. Oops. Away. All right, so title here, Bernie plays crucial role in anti-worker law. So when we clip it, it'll be clipped in that way. So, but before we do that, I do got to throw up a couple of comments because I know, actually this overlaps. So if you have comments from the previous segment, it'll fit fine with this because it's very much the same. It's the godfather of the squad, the one who is, they all spring from this branch or from this tree. So yeah, we are sitting at, I think the target is 600. Target is 600. So in between the next segment here, I'll say like the stream. It's the last like request. Let's like the stream. Last and final segment. We're going to push the other segment to a different day. I am getting tired. And tomorrow, don't forget to tune in, Jimmy Dore. Tomorrow, we're sitting at 595 likes. The target is 600. You're doing perfect, so I don't need to ask any more, but let's try to get to 600. 5 more. Join our Substack. If you just got here 2 hours in, join our Substack so you get notifications. You can join us earlier for these segments. And Bernie plays crucial role in anti-worker law. So let's go to this article. And let me make sure I didn't get any super chats. I haven't looked at the chat in a long, long time. I'll throw this up here. I saw this with all the red hearts. Kshama's awesome. All right, so let's move to the final segment here. And glad you're here with me. Don't forget at 6 p.m. in about 50 minutes, Sabby Sab will have her show covering all the nonsense of Kanye. I still don't know what's going on, But I saw the thumbnail. She will be covering Kanye and some other items. So make sure you tune in. And she's also going to be covering that same press release. This is a call for a general strike. And I'm still amazed. I'm sure we're going to talk about it tomorrow with Jimmy Dore. So make sure you join, because we're going to be talking general strike, obviously, as part of the conversation with Jimmy tomorrow. All right. 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, Saturday, December 3rd. All right, let's read this article now. Let's close these other ones. I'm down just to this. Good to clear out all of these tabs here. All right, so Bernie Sanders, DSA play crucial role in passing anti-strike law against railroaders. And let's read this closing article. On Thursday afternoon, the U.S. Senate voted by margin of 80-15 to impose the terms of a national rail contract that tens of thousands of workers voted to reject. The vote in the Senate followed the law's passage Wednesday in the House of Representatives. The law, which does not even include the fig leaf of 7 paid sick days that was narrowly approved as a separate measure in the House, is a major assault on the democratic rights of all workers in the United States. While Wall Street breathed a sigh of relief, the vote resolves nothing from the standpoint of the railroaders. Workers still have not agreed to anything, and they cannot accept as legitimate a dictatorial vote based on the right to override workers that Congress has arrogated to itself. To a far more direct and open degree than before, workers are locked in a fight against the capitalist state itself. To the extent that anything positive has to come out of it, it is that the vote completely exposes all factions of the political establishment. This includes the self-described most pro-labor president in the American history, Joe Biden. But a critical role was also played by the pseudo-left factions of the Democratic Party, including Senator Bernie Sanders and the 4 members of the House who are affiliated with the Democratic Socialists of America. The pro-company, anti-worker dictatorial measure could not have passed in the form that it is, with the speed that it is, without their support. So this is key, because they want to throw all of the boutique left, all of the managerial, professional managerial class, the reformist left, the TYT. They all Bernie Sanders throwing these bones. Really? Let's dive a little bit deep in that. On Tuesday, House Democrats introduced a separate resolution originally drafted by Bernie Sanders in the Senate to add 7 paid sick days on top of the contract they were imposing. This was a sham aimed at providing political cover. It had no chance of reaching the 60 vote threshold to overcome a filibuster in the Senate. Even if it passed both houses, it would do next to nothing to seriously address workers' demand. Before the vote on the sick day resolution, 3 out of the 4 DSA members on the House joined with the vast majority of Democrats to vote in favor of imposing the contract, including AOC. Defending her vote, Ocasio-Cortez later nonsensically claimed that her vote to block a strike and impose the contract was cast in order to allow Democrats to fight for sick days in the Senate. Just clown shit from these people. Clown shit. The Senate, after voting to reject a Republican proposal to extend the deadline into February, voted down the sick day proposal as expected in a nearly party line vote, with Democrat Joe Manchin playing his assigned role as joining with Republicans against his own party. Sanders' defeated proposal in the Senate was framed as an amendment to the anti-strike bill, whereas the House proposal to add sick days was voted on separately. This means that because both houses passed identical legislation with respect to the question of imposing the contract, the bill went immediately to Biden's death without delay. Any delay would have been completely unacceptable to the ruling class, which was demanding the contract be imposed immediately well before the December 9th strike deadline. The most significant element of the voting in the Senate was the expedited procedure. We all say, how did this happen so fast? I'm pausing in the article for those listening. How did this happen so fast? How? How can they get legislation out this quickly? It took Bernie Sanders. Let's read. The most significant element of the voting in the Senate was the expedited procedure to get it done by December 9th, which required the unanimous consent of all senators, So Bernie Sanders played a sham game for us. In order for it to move so quickly, Bernie had to already say, I'm for this unanimous consent. If either Bernie, the progressive Elizabeth Warren, or anyone else had objected to this, the vote would have been delayed. Bernie Sanders is a fucking joke and played a fucking sham in order for people to keep seeing him as some sort of good player here. That was a fucking sham. In order for the Senate, because you wonder, how do they do all this quick? There's rules. The rules can be skipped, but only if every single senator consents. And Bernie did. Playing a crucial role here in getting this done. Just fucking terrible. In other words, Sanders' support was divisive under conditions in which the outcome of voting... I'm sorry, I said divisive. In other words, Sanders' support was decisive under conditions in which the outcome of voting was known in advance. Not only that, he was a principal architect of the parliamentary maneuvering through which it was passed. Bernie Sanders is a fucking joke, man. Let me read this last statement here. Sanders and the Democrats are cynically using the Republican opposition to sick days to posture as friends of the working class after they voted to impose the contract by an even wider margin than the Republicans. Just despicable what Bernie Sanders is doing here. Yeah, let me continue to read. Many of whom voted against it for factual reasons, but even the New York Times, the House organ of the Democratic Party, could not avoid admitting the obvious. This is the New York Times quote, and we'll end here. In a statement that perfectly captures the yawning gap between Democratic Party rhetoric and behavior, the Times editing board member observed in an opinion piece, quote, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi denounced railroad companies as rapacious profiteers who have been selling out to Wall Street to boost their bottom line, making obscene profits while demanding more and more from rail workers. Then, just one sentence later, she announced that House Democrats would stand with profiteers. Just terrible. Bernie Sanders is a fucking joke. And the PR arm of the Democrats, CNN and MSN, they're playing a role, trying to act like progressives are really doing this when Bernie Sanders, unanimous consent in order to get this shit done so quickly, knowing it was never going to pass. Phone call coming in, sorry. All right, so we're going to end that segment there, but it is very disappointing to see what Bernie Sanders has become and how corporate media is helping him keep this veneer. We're at 630 likes. That is amazing. I have nothing to say about that, but thank you. And I'm going to be heading out here. Make sure you join us tomorrow, though. Let's get to that. Let me just show you. In Twitter. So make sure you join us tomorrow. Have I posted it? Have I posted Jimmy Dore? Oh, I don't even think I posted Jimmy Dore yet. So make sure you join us tomorrow. So there isn't any videos or anything I can show you because I haven't posted it yet. Okay, so yeah, Jimmy Dore will be here tomorrow anyway. Let me tweet it now then. Let's tweet something now so I can upload the picture here for you to see. So let's go to the picture. Downloads. Where's the Jimmy Dore? I did it early because I wanted people to know Jimmy was going to be, just in case you needed to plan. Because people love Jimmy, and seeing him on our station talking with us, that could be a big thing for some people. So I'll show you the graphic here. This is the graphic here. Oops. Let's go back so you can see the big version. So Jimmy joins tomorrow. Let's take this banner down. So make sure you check this out. It will be tomorrow, 12 p.m. my time, Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to send out another notification. We sent out a Substack notification, but we'll send out another one for those that have joined since we sent it out initially, I think it was Monday. So we'll send out another notification so you'll have a direct link in your email. But join us tomorrow for the conversation. There's going to be a ton of people here. I'm sure it'll be well over 1,000, probably close to 1,200 people here in the chat. So it's not something you want to miss. I'm going to be asking and bringing up general strike shit. Of course, we're talking about the rail. And let's go to that. The rail statement, and Sabby's coming up in 30 minutes. So make sure you are here in 30 minutes for Sabby. But of course, we're going to go to the rail statement, and that's it here. Let me get the link. The rail statement. Beautiful writing in this last part here. I'll just keep that up there. So I'm going to toss up your comments as I exit. But first, make sure you join our Substack. I put it up there a couple of times. We're still having a fundraiser. If you're able to contribute, our Venmo and our Cash App is there. We're raising money to get some staff and to get some equipment, to get some people to go out in the field with us when we're doing our citizen journalists. We need a person there to able to hold the camera and have the sound equipment so we can talk and report. We need to be able to pay that person and pay them adequately. We need equipment for that, cameras, sound, and all of the other things. I don't even know everything else that's needed, but if you're able to contribute, please do. And I'm not gonna read this again and give me the chills. Let's just go to my closing video. I love that release from the Railroad Workers United. Love it, and I hope they follow through. And I'm gonna reach out to Rome to see if he can use anything of his maneuvering to get in contact with those people over at the Rail Workers United. So I think it could be fitting. Let's play this from Mumui, and because it's fitting because of what we're talking about. It's a shorter than
Revolution is
that I would use to close, but it's fitting considering the release that we read from the rail workers and how it's sounding very much like, to me, a general strike or movement. Now, this video will play. It'll go dark, and then a second video will play. So make sure you stay tuned. Your comments will be posted up. So throw your comments. Tell me where you're at, where you're located, where you're watching this, and I'll throw those up. So here is Momia speaking. Uh-oh. Let's refresh. Let's refresh here. All right. Now it looks like it's going to play now. All right. So here goes Mumia.
Revolution is, first of all, change, personal transformation. Revolution is not a word to be afraid of, because revolution is ultimately the most natural thing in the universe. Revolution is speaking truth to power. It is people recognizing their historical identity and their future duty and necessity to transform this reality into a better reality.
Society from nuts with guns.
When bands of armed people with loaded weapons can move about our streets, intimidating and frightening citizens, then I think we should act, and we intend to act. It's my intention to make it a misdemeanor to have loaded rifles and shotguns and weapons in public places.
The police department had went to a local congressman to get a bill written. So Huey called me up and says, we have to go to Sacramento. It was conceived as a media event that the press is always at the California State Capitol.
No one really wanted Huey himself to go because Huey was kind of a quick-tempered firebrand. Bobby was a little more cautious. And it was like, look, you've been great so far, but, you might blow it up there and, bad things could happen. We caravaned to Sacramento. I think there were about 30 of us all together. And most of us had some weapon.
We was on the state capitol on the lawn, and Ronald Reagan, then the governor of the state of California, was there, about 10 feet away from us, holding a press conference with these young, like, parochial school kids. And what happened, as soon as the press seen us, they gravitated from Ronald Reagan over to where the Panthers was.
The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense calls upon the American people in general, and the black people in particular, to take careful note of the racist California legislature, which is now considering legislation aimed at keeping the black people disarmed and powerless. At the very same time, racist police agencies throughout the country are intensifying the terror, brutality, murder, and repression of black people.
The State Assembly was in the midst of a heated debate when the young Negroes, armed with loaded rifles, shotguns, and pistols, marched into the Capitol.